What's going on, everybody? I'm Matt Harmon. Welcome to the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast, and it is a hell of a day to talk ball. We've got a full Week 11 preview show for you. Justin Boone is here with the six-pack of questions, the hurry-up offense, literally no one's games of the week, everything you need to know about this upcoming slate of games. But first, as always, we got to talk through Thursday night football. We've got Patriots 27, Jets 14. Pretty much went as expected from a results standpoint. One team is just significantly better than the other on a totally different trajectory, and that is, of course, the New England Patriots. Let's break down some of the individual performances from this game. But before I do that, I mean, come on, folks. If you listen to the show, if you followed us back in August, I just got to give a huge shout out to my guy, my colleague, my friend, Scott Pianowski, who the bold prediction from our August show about just everything you said with the Patriots pretty much came exactly true. I could not stop laughing at him because I was just I couldn't believe he was inhaling the optimism. I couldn't believe he'd allowed himself. I've always known him as this calm, reserved, pretty straightforward Patriots fan saying, if I never see another championship in my life, that's fine. I got so much joy with Brady. It's all good. And then he just completely fell in love with Drake Maye and Mike Vrabel and the whole deal. He said, what was wrong with that? Well, guess what, Scotty? Not a damn thing was wrong with that because this Patriots team is awesome and that quarterback is awesome. Drake Maye was incredible in this game. I thought about this at one point during the game that, he probably did not have some monstrous fantasy outing in this one because we'll get to the guy who was scoring all of the touchdowns in just a moment, but Drake Maye didn't have a big rushing night. He did not have any more than just the single passing touchdown. So you think to yourself, this is probably kind of a whatever fantasy performance. I mean, it's nothing terrible. He had 15.4 fantasy points, but still, he was incredible in this game. Fantasy is not a reflection of reality. This passing chart that we're showing of him really helps sort of tell the story, although nothing replaces truly watching him tonight. Maye's production, according to Next Gen Stats, through the air, most of it through the air against the Jets came on dropbacks over 2.5 seconds, including a career high 237 of his 281 passing yards. Maye was also at his best targeting receivers on in-breaking routes, 12 of 16 for 158 yards. Love that. And that is what it felt like watching this game. And I got to give some love here to Josh McDaniels as well, because I think he's kind of gone a little bit under discussed in this whole saga of this Patriots turnaround, because 100% Drake Maye is awesome. I freaking love Drake Maye. I was very in on Drake Maye heading into this season. Hey, listen, another shout out to a colleague here. Nobody was higher on Drake Maye in terms of people I know out there than our guy Nate Tice, who held strong all the way through that Drake Maye was the number one quarterback in that class. That's a take that's aging pretty well right now for our guy Nate Tice. Didn't love him quite as much as Nate did, because I don't think anybody did, but really thought he was a great prospect coming into the NFL, the type of quarterback that you want to bet on. He's having a great year. I think we're all really quick to credit him and for what this offense is, and he deserves it. There's a lot of guys that deserve some credit here in this offense, but I do think that Josh McDaniels deserves a big share of the pie here, and it feels like nobody wants to talk about him because he's just been an abysmal head coach in the NFL, like a complete laughingstock in that regard. But this offense, guys, I'm telling you, it's so well designed, and I think you saw a little bit of that. Obviously on Thursday Night Football, I say this all the time, but watching the Prime Vision broadcast where you see the all 22 angle, I think this gives you a good feel for it. But even watching the broadcast as the plays are unfolding, you can tell that there's just always an answer for Drake Maye on these plays, which is just fantastic. And look, you're going against a bad Jets defense. It doesn't have any players anymore. The secondary super vulnerable. They had no shot, as Nate and I talked about on the preview for this game that we ran through pretty briefly, admittedly. But we did talk about how the Jets play all that man coverage, and they could just not hang with the Patriots in man coverage. Those receivers are too good, and the receiver deployment is so well crafted right now. Our guy Demario Douglas hit that over on the longest reception. A little bit of a fluky catch and run play, but that's not the point. He had some other really nice man coverage wins in this game. There's always an answer in terms of where is Stephon Diggs in zone coverage. The first read is not there. Maye is really good about reading out the plays and finding the open guy and finding the outlet receiver, a second answer on all these plays. That is good coaching. That is good play design. And one thing that also impresses me about the Patriots offense is I know that it seems like people don't want to give McDaniels a lot of credit here, and I'm not trying to just hype up the coach. We are going to talk about the players here, but because he doesn't fit into the Shanahan McVay bucket that fantasy bros just typically just go all over themselves about that particular coaching tree and the motion and the play action and all this stuff, and like all that stuff is cool. I'm here for it, but with the way McDaniels slightly tweaks this offense every single week to be a little bit something different, I think is really impressive. And that's what has been really impressive, not just for McDaniels, but also what Maye is doing, because the guy at the controls here is Drake Maye and is operating this chameleon-like offense at a really high level right now. And you can feel the trust and the faith that Vrabel and McDaniels and this whole coaching staff has in Maye, because they put all of this operational stuff on his shoulders. They trust him to do that, both at the line, adjusting plays, and also, again, from a conceptual standpoint. They ask him to do a lot. They ask him to be a lot of different quarterbacks. They ask him to wear a lot of different hats. And you know what? He's wearing them. He's looking pretty damn good doing it. So Drake Maye is awesome, continues to be a talent elevator, and there's a lot of talent to elevate in this wide receiver room, even if it on paper doesn't look like all that sexy of a unit. Man, how about the season my guy Stefon Diggs is having right now? He actually broke through from a route participation standpoint, 89% of the routes here for Stefon Diggs. He's usually a sub-package player, but this was a night where they really unleashed him. Not a sub-package player, that's a little harsh, but he's not a full-time player in the offense. Doesn't run 89% of the routes. He did in this game 33 routes. Mac Hollins was number 2, 83.8%. Then it was the running backs, the tight ends, until we got down to Kyle Williams at 29 routes, 78%. In terms of the dropbacks, Pop Douglas remained in that speed slot role where he's beating a lot of man coverage. But Stefon Diggs, the straw that stirred the drink here, man, I think that was just so impressive to watch him tonight. When I talk about zone beaters and how young receivers don't always have a good handle on where to settle down, where to just show your numbers, be available to your quarterback, not overrunning your routes. You're uncovered, and then you're covered again because you overran that route. The sail route that he had on play action, and one of the play action shots, where I think it was the catch that got him over 100 yards in this game, Stefon Diggs, perfect example of what I'm talking about there. Young receivers overrun that route. Keep running it. Diggs slows down, keeps himself open in the zone. Easy pitch and catch by a quarterback who is just hyper accurate right now. Such a good feel for the game. And Stefon Diggs is still an elite technician, still a guy that just knows how to get himself open. So their connection, their chemistry has been fantastic all season. So, I know Diggs has had some maybe lower yardage games the last few weeks. I couldn't care less. That to me is an every week starter in fantasy, because you're going to have these games like this where when Drake Maye is on fire and Drake Maye is feeling it, he's just going to pump that football to him, man, because Diggs is always open, and their connection remains really, really strong. 3.18 yards per route in this game. As we highlighted on the preview show, Diggs has still been cooking man coverage. He had some really nice quick game man coverage wins in this one. Played just under 66% of his snaps in the slot. You love that. So Mac Hollins and Kyle Williams were the two perimeter receivers in this game. Mac Hollins actually had some nice moments. He had a pretty crushing drop where he won the route, and then Brandon Stevens just kind of popped it out there. Good play by the Jets cornerback, even if he did get toasted on the route. But Mac Hollins did make some impressive catches in this one. He's actually been a really useful receiver for this team, and I think he's going to remain in that role. Kyle Williams, the rookie, 3 targets in this one across 29 routes, and it felt like every target in this game, he just wasn't on the same page with Drake Maye. And those guys have just not been on the same page for most of the season. Not totally unexpected, because Kyle Williams is a backup. He's not a first-team player, their third-round rookie. It's just a reminder to me, hey, try to hold on to Kayshon Boutte. Probably going to be back next week after the 10-game layoff here between Thursday night and Sunday, because Boutte's just going to go right back to that X receiver role. Williams, he's had a couple flashes. You see his talent. So for Dynasty, I think he's somebody that definitely is still I could hold out hope for. Kayshon Boutte's a free agent at the end of the year. Matt Collins is a free agent at the end of the year. Kyle Williams, I think, actually would benefit by moving around a little bit, not just staying at the X receiver position, but so would Kayshon Boutte. And man, Boutte and Maye's chemistry, by contrast, is so good. So again, Kayshon Boutte did not play in this game, but he has definitely been a guy that not a consistent separator by any means, but somebody that wins at the catch point and has a really good understanding of where he is supposed to be. And Drake Maye has a lot of trust and confidence in him, and you don't really feel that confidence with Kyle Williams right now. So good stuff for Kayshon Boutte there. He will walk right back into that X receiver role. All right, let's get to the big topic at hand here from the Patriots. That is TreVeyon Henderson. What a night for the rookie running back. 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 on the air, 82.3% of the snaps. Terrell Jennings was active, didn't play a snap because he was hurt. Dearness Johnson got in there for 3 touches on the night. He played 9.7% of the snaps. So TreVeyon Henderson fully unleashing this one. I want to take exception to the tweet, though, that we just put up here from our Yahoo Fantasy account. He could have been doing this all year. Look, I know this doesn't matter. Who cares? Maybe this is just something that nobody cares what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. This whole idea that the Patriots were keeping TreVeyon Henderson under lock and key because they hate him or whatever, or number one, I don't know if you saw after his 3rd touchdown, Mike Vrabel is dapping this guy up like crazy. Mike Vrabel doesn't hate TreVeyon Henderson. Please, it's just. I know this stuff, I shouldn't make a big deal of it. Again, it doesn't matter, but I think this stuff actively makes you guys, the listeners, the viewers, it makes us all like stupid. Come on. No, they don't hate TreVeyon Henderson. And I've been saying this all year. TreVeyon Henderson hasn't been playing like this for most of his season. That doesn't mean he was going to be bad forever. It's week 11. It's at the midpoint of the season. This is when the light normally flips on for most rookies. And the light is flipping on for TreVeyon Henderson. He had some struggles early on in the year. He wasn't always picking the holes right. He wasn't always finding he wasn't always finding the openings on the line of scrimmage. He was making mistakes in pass protection. When rookies are making mistakes like that and they're not adding extra yards at the end of their runs, TreVeyon Henderson wasn't making guys miss. He wasn't breaking tackles at the beginning of the year. Yeah, you're going to lose playing time to a veteran like Ramondre Stevenson, who is by no means a star caliber back and was also making mistakes, but that's just the way it goes. Veteran deference is a real thing when you're not seizing that opportunity by your own talent. This is a smart organization. I mean, come on. If this was some bonehead, I've criticized the Raiders coaching staff for some of their usage with the rookies because I can see on film these guys are, well, not all the guys, but some of them are playing all right, and then they're not getting snaps, and that team stinks. That team is losing. That team's doing dumb stuff. The Patriots are doing all the right things. They're 9-2. You think they're just leaving TreVeyon Henderson on the bench for reasons? Come on. He wasn't ready to be this guy to start his career. The last couple of weeks, really back to about week 8, week 9, that's when you started to see him slowly build up, start getting more work. And now that Ramondre Stevenson injury has created opportunity, TreVeyon Henderson has elevated his play with this opportunity. And now you're not putting the genie back in the bottle, nor is the team going to want to. I mean, they drafted this guy in the 2nd round. Mike Vrabel has all the power in the world on this team. You think the guy, he hates him? He took him in the 2nd round? Give me a break. Like I said, I know I shouldn't be going on and on about this stuff, but it just irritates me because I think it's the type of content that leads you guys astray, that makes us all sound dumber about the sport when we can just be honest. And again, watching the player on film to start his career, he wasn't this guy. Who cares? Now he is this guy. Like, let's deal with what's happening in the present right now. And I think that the player we saw tonight, that's the type of guy that's going to be really good going forward. Here's the stat. Here's the difference between what TreVeyon Henderson was to start his NFL career and what he is now. On the night, 0.69 yards before contact per rush attempt. Not a lot of open lanes here. We didn't even see those big plays from him, the tosses, the pitches, which is how they started building up his confidence. Okay, it's not working for him on these inside runs, the grinder carries. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to pitch that ball to him. We're going to get him rolling on the outside runs. They started doing that. He started to play better. He started to get more confident. He started to dial in. Now you're seeing, okay, that didn't work tonight. They're still getting contact 0.6 yards before contact. Not a lot in terms of the push from the offensive line. But you know what? TreVeyon Henderson, 2.44 yards after contact per rush attempt. That's the good stuff right there. That's him adding to the runs. And that's not even some like elite number or anything, but when you were watching him, you could feel it. You could feel him adding more to his runs on those plays. And that was what was impressive to me, getting skinny through the holes in the interior. Again, running with power, dragging defenders for just 1-2 extra yards. He gained more rushing yards after contact than total yards in this game tonight. Forced a career high 9 missed tackles on 24 touches while playing 56 of 62 snaps. This is what I'm telling you. This is what he wasn't doing. Forcing missed tackles like this to start. Now he is. That rushing chart that we're showing on the screen right now, that's even more impressive than what we saw last week. Those big, long runs. I know that's like awesome to see the big plays, and they do need those big plays. But these sort of sustaining runs here where he's gaining a handful of yards, not taking a bunch of negative runs here. I think only one was tackled for a loss. So a lot more of those sustaining runs. That's what's going to get him this starting job. And this was not the level of play he was offering to start his career. This is the level of play he's offering right now. And man, the schedule coming up for TreVeyon Henderson looks pretty good. This Jets game tonight, Bengals next week. Hello. Giants in week 13. Then they go on a bye. Bills, Ravens, Jets again, Dolphins in week 18. Pretty freaking good fantasy schedule coming up for TreVeyon Henderson. I actually make a joke later on in the show to Boone when we're talking about RJ Harvey that maybe when we discuss rookies next offseason, it needs to come with, like a pharmaceutical ad type disclaimer. Results may vary. Only draft rookies if you are able to put up with no scoring for weeks and maybe months at a time. It's kind of a joke, but at the same time, patience with rookies pays off because it takes some time to figure out the NFL game. It took some time for TreVeyon Henderson to figure out the NFL game. Guess what? I watched a player tonight that sure as hell looks like he's figured it out. So if you were patient on TreVeyon Henderson, congratulations. Obviously, we took him out of the coping corner at the right time. Let's go. I think TreVeyon Henderson has just added another dimension to an already great offense. I just talked about the Patriots for like 18 minutes. I feel like as if I could talk about them for another 18 minutes, but we will discuss the Jets here tonight. There's just not too much to say. This was the type of game I expected to see out of this Jets offense. A few flashes. Justin Fields throws for 116 yards. It was admittedly a bit of whiplash at times, watching a player that's 23 years old in his second season in Drake Maye just be fully in command of that offense, be fully within the tune of everything, so accurate, everything's on time, and then watching, Justin Fields, who just isn't that guy. He hasn't been that guy throughout the course of his NFL career. Great runner, actually better than Drake Maye in fantasy tonight, which is kind of outrageous, but 11 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble on I think the snap was low. Kirk Herbstreit said it was fine. I thought that it was a low snap, but then he kind of Fields doubled down on the mistake there by not falling on it. So I don't know. We might not see too many more games of Justin Fields. We'll see Tyrod Taylor, but with this supporting cast, I'm just really not sure that it matters. That receiving core is just so brutal. You're working in new guys, A.D. Mitchell, John Mechie. Mechie actually leads the team with 45 yards and a touchdown. It's just been a rotating cast all year. Garrett Wilson is now on IR. And the A.D. Mitchell stuff tonight, man, I was intrigued to see what he would look like. It was a hell of a journey, folks, wasn't it? A.D. Mitchell had 6 targets, most on the team, 1 catch, 10 yards. Pretty nice little slant route. Did kind of bobble that ball at the end of it. And then the rest of the targets were just a complete freaking journey. Fields and A.D. Mitchell together are a real Rorschach's test of like when you're looking at something, what do you want to see? What do you want to see in it? Because you saw some bad drops from A.D. Mitchell, and he has been that player. He struggles tracking the ball. He's not a natural hands catcher. He's also not the separator that people think. I mean, I've just never felt that way about him from an NFL standpoint. His NFL rookie film, really up and down. He has no sense of zone coverage, but he does have some nice man coverage wins on certain routes, goes, slants, curls, the X receiver stuff, which is he was playing X receiver tonight for the Jets. I understand why they're trying to get him activated, but a couple of really bad drops. But then also some times where he wins on the route, and then Fields just puts it in a terrible position where even if AD gets his hands on it, it's a miracle that he gets his hands even near that thing for a guy that, he's just learning how to play with from a quarterback standpoint. So that's just a weird, brutal connection. The Jets can't move away from A.D. Mitchell or anything. They got to continue to see if they can get something out of him, because why not? But he's obviously far from being a fantasy factor. Everybody on this Jets offense is far from being a fantasy factor, except for Breece Hall, who, look, 58 yards against this Patriots defense. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to take that. That's about as good as it gets in this matchup if you did have to start Breece Hall. So Jets are, rocketing towards the top of the draft board. Meanwhile, the Patriots are back, baby. The dynasty is back. I'm being facetious about that, but that is a really good team that we're watching with a great quarterback, a well-designed offense, and some really, really fun playmakers, both young and old, for New England.